This is for the pleasers, strictly for the pleasers. I'm sorry, I couldn't help it. But hello, y'all. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm talking to the people pleasers. I'm talking to the people who spend their life worrying about what other people think of them and also spend their life or have spent their time doing for others because of their servicing nature or, nature of wanting to be of service, um, but are not finding themselves happy. I think that we can live in our calling to serve but also be happy. And I'm seeing a lot of people that are not happy. And I believe that that comes from not having boundaries, a lack of boundaries, and a lack of communication when it comes to those boundaries. If you do have the boundaries, because sometimes we have the boundaries, but do we communicate the boundaries? And do we follow through with the boundaries? That's the question we have to ask ourselves. And there's levels to every single thing that I just mentioned because I've not had the boundaries. And then I realized I need boundaries. I've created the boundaries. But then did I communicate them the best? I don't know. Sometimes I feel like maybe I should have communicated that boundary a little bit better to avoid this, this problem, this breakdown that we're now having. Um, and then actually following through with the boundaries and withholding them. There's been times where I had the boundary, I communicate the boundary, but then here I am breaking the boundary. So I just want to give that reminder to anybody out there who happens to feel drained, tired, even used, abused, um, underappreciated, underestimated. It's time to start creating those boundaries and it's time to start executing those boundaries. And when you communicate the boundary, you follow through with it. You don't worry about what anybody else thinks. If I set a boundary that I don't talk work outside of the office, and you come to me trying to talk about work, guess what? I'm letting you know I don't talk work outside the office, and I'm sending you to my business line, and I'm gonna do it every time. And I don't care who you are, because guess what? I already set this boundary and I explained it. That's one small boundary. There's plenty more out there. And it doesn't have to be your boundary. If you feel like you want to talk work outside of the office, cool. If you feel like you want to talk work only in consultation, but you're okay with it being outside the office, cool. You do what works for you in your life. But what is most important here is that once you realize that something works or does not work for you, you communicate that clearly and directly to whoever you need to communicate it to. After you communicate it, you release responsibility of trying to make someone understand it or respect it. That's not your job. So once they, act like they don't get it, act like you're a problem, that's not your job to make them understand it. It's not. So once you start to see that you've communicated that, we move on. And if someone's trying to push past that boundary, you simply communicate and then you move on. And you don't have to keep communicating. You don't. There's so many times where I told a person, I'm tired. I don't like talking about work when I'm off. I want to relax. I want to breathe. And do you know how many times a person still sent me a message, an audio message, a text message, a photo, or something about work? At that point, I don't need to communicate anymore. I've already said it. You just don't care. So, guess what? I'm done communicating. I'm not opening the messages. I'm relaxing. I'm resting. I'm choosing myself. It's just that simple. And, it feels bad in the beginning. You might feel a little bad because you're like, well, maybe no, we got to stop making excuses for people. And we got to stop letting people gaslight us into thinking we're the problem when we have clearly communicated something to a person. I saw a post where a woman said, you know, people will tell you, you should have told me, or you should have told me, you should have this, when in reality, I already told you. You just didn't care. You just didn't listen. So you not caring is not going to be my problem. It's definitely not going to be my problem. So you create the boundary, you set it, and that's it. People respect it or they don't. But it's not your responsibility to make them respect it or understand it. You don't have to explain yourself to anybody. Just keep it moving. Give them the communication and keep it moving. And if they get it, they get it. If they don't, they don't. It's just that simple. Because at the end of the day, your stress, your life, These are things that are extremely important. And if you are overwhelmed or in a state of always working, always on go, you have to be able to take a pause and breathe, because not waking up in the morning due to a heart attack or due to your stress levels being through the roof, yeah, that's worse than somebody being irritated that you set a boundary. And I'm saying this from a place of experience in this area because when I was working myself down to the bone, um, I experienced a bad form of like carpal tunnel almost. And I didn't know that's what it was. I didn't know it was something to do with my nerves and carpal tunnel. I thought it was a stroke. And I think I talked about this on one of my lives, but my grandmother had a stroke. And so I was worried that I had damaged my body to the point of no return, that I wasn't going to be able to use it anymore. That's a scary feeling. So, in the moment that I thought that I was having a stroke and I wasn't going to be able to use the right side of my body the same anymore, nothing else mattered. The only thing that was going through my head was, why did I allow myself to get to this space? Why did I allow myself to get to this place? I was freaking out. So, I would never in my life ask myself that question again due to someone else's inability to be aware of my feelings or what I need. Because their inability to be aware or attentive or um, receptive, that's not my responsibility. My responsibility is to communicate the boundary, to enforce the boundary, and to consistently follow through with that boundary, no matter who it is. I don't care who you are. I don't. If the boundary is the boundary, then that's the boundary. And if I have to break my boundaries just so you can feel significant in my life, I don't want you in my life, because I wouldn't ask anybody to do that for me. And it's just that simple. I would never. I would never ask a person, hey, I know this is your boundary, but can you just break it for me? Those words would never come out of my mouth. Why would you ever think that you would be that important of a being to just make other people break the guidelines of the principles that they choose to live their life by? People have big ego issues, and that's another thing too. People will make your boundaries about them. I told a person I don't do back and forth text messages all the time. Maybe every now and then, but it won't be often for me. I don't have time for it. I don't want to commit time texting back and forth when I need to be working, bringing in income, finding solutions to grow my business, or resting my nerves because of how much I am exposed to technology, screens, reading, typing, writing, speaking, all of that. I'm exposed to that a lot. And there's moments where I need to turn off. And I don't want to spend those moments texting on the phone. Sometimes I'll get on a phone call, but sometimes I don't feel like getting on a phone call. I just don't. And I've expressed that. And when I expressed that to one individual, this individual took that personally and got upset about it, instead of just accepting that it doesn't have anything to do with them. We are that full of ourselves these days, I guess, where we just make someone else's boundaries about us. It's not about you. It never was about you. It's about me in here and in here, physically, mentally, emotionally. That's what it's about. So don't make it about you. That's weird. So, yeah, long story short, create your boundaries, stick to them, and don't feel bad about them. Just don't. Those people are going to have to work through therapy or whatever it is that has them feeling like they should have control over how you breathe and what you do, and that anything that you do has anything to do with them, because it doesn't, unless it does. But if that's not the case, then yeah, that's a personal problem that you need to let them work through personally. Let's stop trying to work through personal problems with people in groups, because it ain't a group problem. It's a you problem, ain't a you and me problem. So that's the message. I hope that someone finds that when they needed to hear it. Stop people pleasing. Start letting people go. Stop repeating yourself. Say it one time. and then act on it, or enforce it. Keep communicating that and move on. And don't get mad about it. Just say it and then move on. Just that simple. So, I don't know. I don't know why boundaries are such a, well, I do know why. I'm not going to lie and say I don't. What I mean to say is, I do know why. The reason why boundaries is such a touchy subject for people and it's hard for people pleasers is because we live in a world where people have a need for control because they associate their need for control with value. Like you controlling what someone else does, you think that that makes you valuable to them or valuable in their life, or it brings value to your life. But what you fail to realize is it dilutes value because you are not allowing people to breathe and live as they would like to. They're living based off of pressure. It's performative relationships where they're doing things because they're expecting you to respond or act a certain kind of way versus them just being themselves, and you just embrace them and accept them and they do the same for you. So, yeah, people have a weird control issue. Let go of control and just let people be who they are and accept them for who they are and move on from there. And don't keep trying to push something and force it. Like, what is that about? But yeah, have an amazing rest of your day, night, whenever you're watching this. But I hope that someone who's normally a people pleaser enjoyed this and got some kind of inspiration to set some boundaries today.